ever find yourself kind of curious about the people behind the coat check?
Yeah.
Like, what's their deal?
Right.
Well, we're doing a deep dive into the world of the Cloak Room Attendant today.
Okay.
We've got some insights from RoleCatcher.
Cool.
And you might be surprised to find it's not just about handing out those little numbered tickets.
It's pretty fascinating, really.
Mhm.
This role, people might see it and think it's simple, but it's really a mix of logistics and customer service and even a little like detective work,
Oh, detective work.
especially these days.
Okay, you have to tell us more about that. But first, let's back up a bit.
Sure.
RoleCatcher really seems to describe this job as way more than just taking people's coats.
Hmm.
So what are some of the things they highlight when it comes to the responsibilities of a cloakroom attendant?
Well, I mean, think about it. You're the first person someone sees when they walk in, and you're the last person they see when they leave.
Right.
So you're setting the tone for that whole event.
Yeah.
And that means you've got to be good with people.
Mm-hmm.
You could be saying hi to someone, or you could be, calming down someone who's maybe had a few too many glasses of champagne.
Right, because not every night is going to be like, perfectly behaved guests, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially if it's busy.
Yeah.
People trying to get in, try to get out.
Everyone's in a rush.
Exactly.
Right.
But on top of all that, you've got to have a system.
Okay.
You might be dealing with hundreds of items, making sure they get back to the right people. Imagine, like, someone loses their ticket,
Huh.
and they're like, I had a black coat.
Yeah. A black one?
You've got to think fast.
Right.
That's where the problem solving comes in.
Okay, so that's the detective work. It's like a giant game of memory match, but with like way higher stakes.
Right.
And you know what else is interesting? RoleCatcher mentions these digital ticketing systems. So is that like, are those replacing the old numbered tickets totally these days?
I think they're getting more and more popular. I mean, it just makes sense.
Right.
It's streamlined, fewer errors, helps to manage inventory.
Yeah.
But I do think it kind of changes how you interact with customers.
Yeah, it's like, how do you balance being efficient but still, being friendly?
Exactly.
Because let's be real, when you go to check your coat, it's nice to have a little friendly interaction.
It makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher really emphasized that. This isn't just about managing stuff. It's about managing people's experience.
Oh, interesting.
It's about making sure everyone has a good time from start to finish.
So you're not just a coat rack, you're creating an ambiance.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool when you think
Yeah.
about it. But I'm sure, like any job, there's got to be pros and cons.
Of course.
And RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from that, right?
No, they give you the good and the bad, which I think is really important if you're thinking about doing this kind of work.
Okay, so let's talk perks.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest one they mention? Is it the flexible hours?
I mean, that's a big one. Not everyone wants to work nights and weekends.
Right.
But for some people, that's perfect. Students, parents,
Yeah.
people who need a job that works around their life and not the other way around.
Totally.
Plus, there's always the chance of tips.
Oh, yeah, tips on top of your hourly pay. That's always nice.
Yeah.
But it can't all be sunshine and roses, right? So what about the downsides? What does RoleCatcher point out as kind of the not so fun parts of the job?
Honestly, the pay.
Yeah.
It's not great,
Yeah.
which is a bummer.
Yeah.
And it's something you see a lot in these service jobs.
Yeah.
So you got to decide if the flexibility and the other good stuff outweighs the low pay.
Yeah, it's a trade-off for sure. You're
Yeah.
trading the higher pay for flexibility and, like we were talking about, the chance to really build some useful skills.
Definitely.
Which kind of leads to my next question.
Okay.
Is there a future in this line of work? Like, can you move up or are you just hanging coats forever?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. RoleCatcher actually lays out a whole career path for you. You can start as a Cloak Room Assistant
Okay.
and eventually work your way all the way up to Cloak Room Supervisor.
Cloakroom assistant to cloakroom supervisor. So you're saying there's a chance to, climb the coat rack ladder.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
Right.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. It's encouraging. I mean, people might think this job is a dead end, but RoleCatcher shows that there's actually room to grow.
So, what actually changes between those different levels?
So RoleCatcher gives some good examples. Like, as you get more experience, you go from just helping out to actually managing things. You might be training new people.
Okay.
Maybe you're dealing with the money or keeping track of the inventory.
Right.
You might even have to handle customer complaints.
So those problem-solving skills we were talking about, those get even more important as you move up.
Totally. And it's not just about individual customers anymore. You're thinking about the whole operation. Like how to make things run smoothly when it's crazy busy.
Yeah.
Or making sure everything's good to go for a big event.
You're like the coat conductor.
Uh-huh. I like that.
Right.
It's true.
You're conducting the coat symphony.
And then when you get to supervisor, you're basically like a manager.
Oh, wow.
You're overseeing everyone, managing the budget, making sure the whole cloakroom is running smoothly.
So you're not just managing coats at that point. You're managing people, and you're managing, like, processes.
Exactly.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, and it shows how those skills you pick up in this job can actually help you in other jobs, too.
Oh, right. Like the stuff we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, like staying organized when things are hectic, talking to people clearly, knowing how to deal with unexpected problems. Those are good skills to have no matter what you're doing.
For sure. Those are, like, essential life skills.
Right.
Okay, so let's say someone is listening to us right now, and they're like, this actually sounds kind of awesome. How do I get one of these cloakroom jobs? Does RoleCatcher have any advice about, like, the interview process?
Actually, yeah, they do. They've got a bunch of example interview questions.
Oh, nice.
Like stuff that's specific to this kind of job. And honestly, knowing how to answer those questions well can really give you an edge.
Okay, so give us the insider tips. What kind of questions are we talking about here?
Well, one they mentioned is, how would you deal with a difficult customer?
Okay.
It's a pretty standard question, but they ask it for a reason.
Right, yeah.
They want to know that you can stay calm, be professional, and find a solution, even when someone's being a jerk.
Yeah, I can see that coming up, especially, like, late at night, when people are tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another one they have is, how do you prioritize tasks when the cloakroom is slammed?
Oh, good question.
They want to see that you can handle being busy and make sure everybody gets their coat even when it's chaos.
Right, because no one wants to be that person stuck without their coat
Exactly, huh?
when everyone else is leaving.
And then there's the more practical stuff, like what do you do if something gets lost, how to manage cash, even just keeping the cloakroom clean and organized.
So it's really about showing them that you're responsible,
Yeah.
that you pay attention to detail,
Mm-hmm.
and that you actually want people to have a good experience.
Exactly. It's all about being prepared. If you've thought about those questions beforehand, it'll make you stand out. It shows that you're serious about the job.
It's not just about showing up, it's about showing up ready.
Exactly.
And on that note, I'm curious about the skills that you can take from this job to other careers.
Okay, yeah.
Because RoleCatcher did mention a couple, right?
Yeah, and this is where it gets really cool for people who might be thinking of this job as a starting point. Think about it. You're talking to all kinds of people.
Right, tons of different people.
Sometimes in really stressful situations. And you have to think on your feet. Be creative to solve problems.
Those are such valuable skills, like actually no matter what job you're doing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher specifically mentioned jobs like usher, service manager, or even locker room attendant.
Okay.
And I know those sound like different jobs,
They do sound different.
but they all need the same kinds of skills.
What? Give us an example.
Well, they're all about managing people, looking after their stuff, and making sure they're happy.
Oh, okay.
You're the face of the place.
Right.
The one who sets the tone for how people experience it.
So just like we were talking about before, you're not just like checking coats or handing out towels. You're actually shaping the experience someone has.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, right? Don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
Or in this case, don't judge a job by, like, its uniform.
I like that.
Because you can learn a lot and gain some really great experience, even in jobs that maybe people don't always think about.
It's true.
Yeah.
And every job, even the ones that seem simple, they all have their own challenges, and you can always learn something new.
That's a good point.
And honestly, with so many jobs becoming automated these days, it's those human skills that are going to be so valuable.
Yeah.
You know, like being able to communicate, solve problems, being empathetic.
Yeah, those are the things that robots can't do, at least not yet.
Right.
And that actually reminds me, this whole deep dive into the world of cloakroom attendants has really got me thinking.
Oh, yeah.
What about, well, like, we don't really think about these kind of invisible service jobs very much, but we see them all the time.
Yeah.
Restaurants, theaters.
The gym.
Yeah, the gym. But I don't often stop and think about what it takes to actually do those jobs well.
It's easy to not notice it, especially when things are running smoothly.
Right.
But those little interactions, those moments of customer service, they can totally make or break your experience.
Oh, for sure. And it's not even just about making people happy. It's also about, like, creating a sense of trust. Oh, absolutely.
Like you trust that they'll still have your coat when you come back.
Right.
And that they'll be able to help you if you lose your ticket.
Exactly. You have to be the calm in the storm.
Right.
The one who can handle anything with a smile.
I like that, the calm in the storm. And being able to do that, stay calm under pressure, create a good experience, Those are important no matter what you do.
Totally. In any job. In life, really.
It really is like a microcosm of the working world, isn't it?
How so?
Well, you've got deadlines, or at least people waiting for their coats. You've got to deal with unexpected problems, lost tickets, spilled drinks.
Definitely.
And you have to do it all while being positive and helpful.
It's true. You see those same things everywhere.
Exactly.
And that's why I think these deep dives are so interesting. We get to take a closer look at these jobs we might not usually think about.
Totally.
And realize they're actually a lot more complex and interesting than we might assume.
It's about appreciating all the work that goes on behind the scenes, right?
Yeah. So, to our listeners out there, next time you're at an event and you check your coat, maybe take a second to think about the person behind the counter.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by how much skill and dedication it takes to do that job well.
It's more than just handing out tickets, that's for sure.
And hey, you might even learn a thing or two about customer service yourself. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.